Hello and welcome to the weekly Astrology and Spirituality show. Thank you so much for joining us. This is for week commencing the 28th of March. And of course the transition into the first part of April sees on the 1st, apart from Los Angeles where it's just in the 31st of March, we have the new moon in Aries, the first of the new year. So this offers lots of positivity and possibilities, because it's combining with Chiron, the comet that is the wounded healer. Anything to do with working on our inner identity is definitely going to be a good thing to do over the following month. Also, of course, with Mercury so close by, the more we can use our thoughts and our intellect, the better it's going to be. In fact, by Saturday, the Sun and Mercury come into an exact conjunction known as cazimi. If you're about to have a baby and it's born on Saturday, it's likely to have a strong amount of ingenuity in its nature. But this week also sees Venus and Mars joining up with Saturn in the sign of Aquarius. Now, when Venus and Saturn get together, it can tease out any weaknesses in relationships and perhaps even around friendships this week. But with Mars in the mix as well, that can create frustration if we can't achieve our longer term hopes at the speed we want. So trying to guard against getting too exasperated will be an important part of this week's journey. Now, in terms of the Hermetic wheel, I think we're continuing with the Two of Wands for the first half of the week.
Yeah, up until Wednesday. So we really have that Two of Wands energy, which is about new starts, fresh ideas, perhaps starting a business. It can be to do with partnerships of all kinds. But then on Wednesday, we move into the wonderful Three of Wands. This is about collaboration. It can be about community, but it's also the card of travel. You know, this is a card that says to us we might be drawn to go somewhere near water. It's about horizons. It's about anything to do with boats or travel by sea. So it could be that we have a pull to go to a river or a stream just to rejuvenate ourselves this week.
Oh, that's lovely. Now, in terms of the word for the week, we did have 3 entered. Now, Carmen pushed back on the concept of hope. She felt it was much more important to work with the word or the concept of faith. And actually we've been talking about that, Carmen, and we actually feel that's very important what you're saying, an important distinction, because hope almost suggests that we're kind of giving away our power a little bit, whereas faith is much more rock solid.
Yeah, definitely.
Would you say that?
I feel like faith is coming from within, something that we are putting our trust in, whereas hope can be a little bit unattainable and harder to grasp. So really loved that difference that you came up with.
And David came up with astral, which we have discussed before, but a new concept came up which I'd not heard of, suggested by Therese, which is homo luminous. And we'd just been down the beach for a walk and I was asking Elisa what her take was on it. So what do you feel on that?
I really love this word. It sort of means that we're moving from an era where we are, if we think about the fact that we're Homo sapiens now, and we have been for, thousands of years, it's a concept that we're moving more into an ethereal part of ourselves, where we're able to see just beyond the physical, maybe getting more in tune with our sixth sense, if you like. So it's almost being able to feel the situations around us rather than just the logic, just the smell and the touch of something.
Or in fact working in a more physical way, a more material way towards things.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like we're shifting from one way of thinking as a human species to another. It's aluminum is anything that a light is shined on it. It means knowledge. So we're gaining greater knowledge as a species about how to work together and in some cases not work together. Some people would say we're going through what you would say was a consciousness shift. And I do agree with that. I think we're all becoming more aware of the world around us, the natural kingdom, trying to right some of the wrongs that we've maybe created as a human species.
And yet, of course, all of that's happening in tandem with what's going on in different parts of the world, but obviously in Central Europe. But I think that's the Pluto energy in Capricorn, which is very much about holding on to old power. And that can be to do with authoritarianism. It doesn't mean to say that when Pluto moves into Aquarius, it will be a panacea for all our ills or ails, because of course that could see more robotics, more automation, more AI, artificial intelligence, because Aquarius energy can be a bit remote, but it is more about the group rather than more about the physical material attainment, which is very Pluto. So it is interesting that Pluto's coming right to the end of its journey through Capricorn, which began in 2008. It will go into Aquarius in 2023 for 2.5 months before moving into Aquarius in 2024 for a much longer spell. And for me, that really is the age of Aquarius fully beginning. And perhaps some of the things that are going on in the world at the moment, which are very much to do with territory and domination and control, are going to be pushed back somewhat. Now, in terms of the birthday chart winner, we have 3 entrants: Johnny, Sandy, and also Penelope. And Penelope was the winner, but I would be grateful if both Johnny and Sandy could just drop me a line with their email addresses, please. And so I'm just donning my glasses. So we're going to change the approach a little bit. We feel that maybe the birthday chart winner has been a bit too involved, and we don't want it to become sort of too slow moving. So what I'm going to do is give more a briefer summary of what a person's natal horoscope is about, and also what's going on for them now. So a bit swifter to the point. So when you were born, Penelope, it was the 3rd of April 1946 at 1:50 a.m. in Atlantic City, New Jersey. And your sun, as you know, is in Aries, but it's in the 3rd house, so I think communication's always been important to you. But you also have the moon conjunct Venus in Aries too, all in the 3rd house. So I think you're someone with a gift for communications. The midpoint between the sun and the moon is in Aries, therefore at 20 degrees. But it means on the other side of the heavens, you have Jupiter exactly on the 7th house cusp of your midpoint. So I think your skill at relating to people has been very strong. You also have Saturn right on your 7th house, along with Mars. So it wouldn't surprise me if you had been a teacher or an educator, or someone who needed to, have quite a robust boundary in your approach to life. But of course, your ascendant was at 17 degrees in the sign of Capricorn. So you have both Pluto and Saturn at the moment moving through your 1st house. Now, if we look at your progress chart, the sun is now 26 degrees in Gemini. So that love of communication that's been a big part of your life has continued to be so, but particularly over the last 26 years. Now, in terms of your ascendant in your progress chart, it's 12 degrees in Taurus. So the moving Uranus in the sky is parked up on your 1st house at the moment. So I feel that you may be looking at life in some fresh ways just now, and things may be changing for you in ways that you hadn't necessarily expected. Also, Saturn is parked up on your 4th house cusp. It's just in the 3rd house, but it's just behind the 4th house cusp. So I think something to do with changes at home have probably been to the fore recently, but you may have been feeling a little bit restless, but in the mood for new experiences and a fresh approach to life. I hope that makes sense. If you'd like to enter your details for the birthday winner for week commencing the 11th through to the 17th of April. Is that right? Have I got the dates wrong there? So no, it would be from the would it be from the 4th through to the 11th? Sorry. So if your birthday's from the 4th to the 11th of April, please let us know, and we'd be happy and delighted to discuss your chart and also any other words for the week. Now, the other thing that's going to be happening this week is that Venus is going to be forging a semi-sextile to Pluto later this week. So in tandem with that new moon, we can perhaps really think about the quality of our relationships. One of the things that Carmen had also suggested was that Elisa did some kind of group meditation. Time is really quite pinched for us at the moment, so Elisa has done some meditation videos before, so we're going to share the link to these beneath this video, and also the link to the new moon video, the Aries new moon video that I've done, the special, so you can check that out as well. Now, what about this week's modality? What have you gone for?
Well, I thought we'd use the lovely Healing with the Angels Oracle cards. I love working with this type of angelic energy. For me, it's very uplifting and a very safe thing. And if you do check out those meditations, they work with lots of different archangels. So I hope that you will find that of interest. So, would you like to pick the card?
Okay, thank you.
I've shuffled. Wow. Okay, the words on this card say, clear yourself. And it says here, ask the angels to release any toxic energies that you may have absorbed. It's very easy for when you're a sensitive or empathetic person to walk into a space and feel almost drained afterwards, or feel heavy afterwards, or just that you've taken on maybe other people's burdens or thoughts or
without
feelings.
even a conversation.
Without even a conversation. And that's very natural for empaths to do. It's one of the reasons why empaths are good communicators or can reach into other people, because they understand. But the flip side of that is we have to then learn how to, what this card is saying, clear ourselves. So there's a few little exercises. One of them is just to imagine that every person that we come into contact with in life, we sort of grow an invisible attachment to them, an invisible wire, if you like. And that's how we exchange our energies. So of an evening, we could just take our hand, cut through those invisible wires, just envision it. We can do some grounding techniques or some meditations, or go for a walk in nature, let our feet go into the soil or the sand or the grass, just to bring ourselves back into who we are and not worry so much about things that we may have seen that day or heard that day. You know, there's a lot of sadness going on in the world right now, and it is right not to turn a blind eye to it. You know, I think if we're on a spiritual path, that means that we have to be inclusive of the bad things that are going on in life, but that can also leave us feeling very upset and drained. So we need to cry.
Yeah, over the last week, I think we've both really felt what's been going on in the Ukraine, particularly on Monday for some reason. I just couldn't do anything really. I just felt so overwhelmed with the awfulness of it.
Yeah, and sometimes when we suffer global grief and loss, it can bring up our own individual losses of people as well. It can stir all those emotions up. And so this card is saying, just let it all out this week. Have that cry, have that sleep, have that, warm shower or whatever, however it is. Give ourselves a little bit of TLC.
That's really lovely. Well, if you would like to suggest any other themes that you would like us to discuss, we will do so, like with Carmen with the meditation, and also her take on hope via faith, which, was a really, really great spot, I felt, Carmen. Carmen's also suggested some other things that we can do, and we're very grateful for those suggestions. And Homo Luminous, what a brilliant concept, Therese. And Therese, thank you so much for all your lovely interactions. Really means a lot. Just a quick whiz into Astral. I mean, we've talked about Astral before. What would your take on Astral be?
Astral for me is something that, again, is a bit like ethereal. So we may have heard the term astral travel. And that's when we are asleep, but it's kind of in between that sleep and awake stage where we know we're asleep, yet we're almost aware of our surroundings. And people can really practice and go to, other places in their dream time, if you like. So some people are real heavy practitioners of astral. But for me, it's about anything that's a bit outside of our physical body. So just tie in with the word Homo Luminous.
Right, brilliant. Fantastic concepts by Carmen, by Therese and David. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you for all your other comments. Thank you so much for the feedback, Katrina, last week on your reading. And I really hope, Penelope, that you enjoyed yours. And for now, from the A team, it is...
Goodbye from him.
And it's goodbye from her. Goodbye.